Hello dear kids, today's story name is Ingratitude. Once upon a time, by the side of a slow river, in a bright green pond, many cheerful frogs lived together. The pond shimmered with sunlight on lily pads. Little frogs jumped and flitted while older frogs rested on stones and logs. They croaked and played among reeds. Sometimes they felt small and wished for something grander. That wish grew like a tiny bubble and began to wobble in the warm pond air until it looked ready to pop. The frogs talked and decided they should have a king like other animals. They gathered close and folded their tiny legs. Then they prayed with hopeful croaks. "Oh Allah, give us a king," they called into the blue sky. Their voices floated like steam above the water. They imagined a leader who would make them feel important. The pond hummed with the sound of their wish. Little ripples carried the wish to the edges where dragonflies watched and leaves listened. They had just begun to pray when a large wooden beam fell into the pond with a mighty splash. Water leapt and raced away across the surface, sending waves to the reeds. Frogs jumped and scattered like startled leaves. For a moment the pond was wild and noisy. Then a deep silence settled, so still it felt like holding a breath. The frogs crouched and peeped out, wondering who had come to be their king and what surprise had arrived with the splash. Slowly, the frogs who had hidden in corners dared to come out and look. Some of the braver frogs hopped onto the beam. They climbed up and sat, feeling the warm, wet wood under their toes. When they looked closely, they saw there was no crown and no waving flag, only a plain, motionless beam. The frogs blinked and felt puzzled. Their faces changed from wide surprise to small frowns. A silent, floating stick was not the kind of king they had pictured. Seeing this, they grew annoyed and croaked together in disappointment. "God has given us a king who is completely motionless," they said sadly. "We do not want such a king," they complained. The pond echoed with their dismay. So they called again, louder this time, and begged for something else. "Oh Allah, give us some other king instead," they prayed, imagining a grander, busier ruler who would move and do important things for them. This time a tall stork was sent to the pond. He stood on thin legs and watched the frogs with a long beak. He said, "Be quiet," but the frogs, used to singing, could not stop croaking. The stork waited, and then moved with a sudden sweep. He reached into the shallows and picked out the plump frogs one by one. Those frogs were taken away in the stork's beak, and the others watched in growing fear as their friends disappeared into the sky. The frogs were alarmed and cried, "We do not need this king. He will eat us all." Their voices trembled like tiny bells in a storm. They begged again for another king to save them, calling out with small, frightened croaks. But this time their prayer was not accepted. The pond stayed quiet, and the stork kept coming. The frogs felt helpless and watched the ripples where their friends had once been. The air felt heavy with what they had wished for and what had come instead. Slowly the frogs opened their eyes and realized their mistake. They felt deep regret for asking for a new king without thinking of the danger. The pond had lost its bright bustle, and the croaks were softer now. Even knowing this did not bring their friends back. The beam still floated, and the place where laughter had once lived was quieter. The frogs sat on lily pads and thought hard about how wishes can change things in ways you do not expect. In a few days, many frogs left the old pond. The young ones hopped across wet grass and through tall reeds until they reached another pond hidden and calmer. There they settled among new lily pads and quiet corners. The new pond seemed peaceful and safe for the little frogs who had moved. The old pond kept its memories and its empty spaces. Those who left found new places to play, while the places they left behind held the echo of what had happened. Back at the original pond, the beam drifted and the water remembered every splash. The frogs who remained watched the distant shape of their friends in new water. The stork's visits became a sad tale parents told at dusk. Nights grew quieter and croaks lower. The frogs missed the noisy days and thought often about what they had wished for. Life went on, but everything felt different, as if the pond itself had learned to speak more softly. The frogs who stayed thought over the tale of the beam and the stork. They sat on stones and listened to the wind through the reeds. They remembered how their wishes had hurried them into trouble. The pond was calmer, and the frogs grew careful with their croaks. They watched the new pond across the grass and hoped the young ones would be happy. The story of their fleeting king became woven into the gentle sounds of evening and moonlight on the water. At last the frogs realized their mistake and felt sorrow for what their wishes had brought. Many were gone and the pond had lost its bright bustle. The young ones had gone and settled in another pond. It is true that in the world no one is satisfied with any condition. Dear kids, with this today's story comes to an end. Very soon we will be back with a new and interesting story. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, kids. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel for more fun and exciting videos of stories. See you next time. Bye bye.